Hi guys, welcome to Java Express channel. So we started Java interview questions. This is the fourth video. So today we'll discuss about difference between default constructor and parameterized constructor in Java. In previous session, we already discussed about difference between the constructor and a method. Just why we need a constructor. In yesterday's session, we discussed. Now today, let me start about a default constructor as well as parameterized constructor. Let me take the notepad file now. Yeah, let me write as a default constructor, okay, versus parameterized constructor. This is very small differences, guys. It's not a very bigger topic. Okay. Now, first, let me start about the default constructor. Couple of points I'm highlighting just to have a look, guys. Now, a default constructor. Now, everyone knows how to create a object, right? Now, how to create object? Student s1 equal to new student. Everyone know how to create a object for any class. Now, if you talk about the default constructor without knowing you, okay, compiler will place, okay, default constructor for you. Whenever you are compiling a Java program, in the bytecode, this particular constructor default available. That's why we can say as a point as a default constructor is automatically, okay, automatically generated by compiler, generated by the compiler. If you want to initialize by yourself, yes, even we can write about this default constructor also. This is the first difference. And number two, the same thing I can say another definition, we can say that a constructor which takes no arguments is known as a default constructor. It's very simple, guys, about the constructor topic. This is called default constructor. Okay, hope you are created. Now let me discuss about parameterized constructor here. Now let me write as another new point here. Now here, if you see in the first point, as I told, this default constructor is generated by the compiler. That means programmer is not creating the your default constructor, but parameterized constructor means a constructor, I can say that, that is created by programmer with one or more parameters, with one or more parameters. Now just I'm maintaining the differences for the default and constructor, guys. Here this constructor taken care by the compiler, and parameterized constructor, okay, programmer, I mean to say developer needs to create. So this is the first point. And second point, I can say same meaning, just we can explain in another way. A constructor which takes one or more arguments, or we can call as a parameters. You can call any name, that's fine. And is known as spelling mistake, as known as a parameterized constructor. That's it. It's very small differences. When I explain a small program, you can easily remember these 2 points. Hope you are clear difference between the default constructor and as well as parameterized constructor. Let me show you a small example for you. Here already in yesterday's session, we created one package com.basics.constructor. Here, let me create some kind of a class. You can take any object like a department. Let me take as a department as my object. Okay. If you want to create a main method, just you can write about main method here. Okay. Now here, this is about a class definition. You know very well about a department object. Department d1 equals to new department object. Just you created. Now, if I try to print this d1 object, now basically d1 represents object identity. Now, if I run this application, this is, see, you will get a output as a just what you are getting, some qualified name in this particular department, under which package it is available. It is displaying hexadecimal code. This is called hexadecimal code for your object identity. Here, if you see, whenever you are compiling, after compilation, compiler will initialize the department. This is nothing but default constructor. If you want to initialize the default constructor, you know very well about the first rule, class name and constructor name should be same. Then we can say as a there is a constructor rule. This is one of the rules. Now let me create as a default constructor. Now if you see, now whenever you are executing system.out.println, let me write as a default constructor. Okay, now here let me run this application, run as a Java application. Now see, default constructor is invoked. Suppose assume that if I'm creating 5 objects, have a look here. I'm creating 5 objects, D1, D3, D4, D5. Now let me make it D2, D3, D4, and D5. Now here I'm writing, here I am creating 5 department objects. That means if you are creating 5 times, means 5 times your default constructor will be invoked. Now have a look here, run as Java application. Now see here, now just I am printing, let me comment this statement, run as Java application. See here, 5 times your constructor is invoked. But in the real time, do I need to create 5 times with different objects? Just I can use some kind of for loop and even I can execute 5 times also. Right now, let me ignore that part. This is about the default constructor. Okay, now let me explain another example with the parameterized constructor. So what we can do, let me comment these all statements. Okay, here I am creating another argument as a department, D2 equals to new department. Here I am providing some kind of ID. Assume that, let me give some integer as 501 and I can give as a admin department. These two are, this is nothing but a constructor which takes one parameter or more parameter. One or, that means more than one parameter if you pass, then we can call as a parameterized constructor. But here compiler will check, really are you providing constructor, means here you are getting compilation exception. See, it is asking to create a constructor, else remove the constructor. Right now default constructor is available. Now let me create a parameterized constructor. See, now here arguments are matching here. 501 will store to the integer variable and admin will store to the string variable. These names are not like a readability. Let me make it as a ID and here let me make it as a department name. Just now what I can do, let me print system.out.println ID and system.out.println department name. That's it. Now let me delete this part as of now. Now this is the default constructor. Now this is a parameterized constructor. If I run this application, run Java application. See, 501 admin, both are printed, default constructor is printed. Now assume that I right now department. Assume that if I comment this particular 3 lines of code here. Now what will happen whenever you are running, if you place parameterized constructor, default constructor is not available. If you need to override, else you will get a compilation. See, the constructor department is undefined. This is the one you need to highlight this point. Okay, now if you need a different a different constructor, I want to pass only the ID. Suppose let me create another object here, department D3 equals to new department. Here I want to provide only ID, suppose 567, just I want to provide. Now here this is 0 parameter or default constructor. Here 2 parameters, here single parameter. When I say single parameter, this particular constructor is not available in your department class. Then what you can do, you can create another constructor also. See, you can create another constructor here. Now it is matching. Here you are passing 567. It is a integer data type. It should be matched with your data type also. Now here you can place as a here you can print as a I value here. Now just have a look here, run as Java application. See, 567 is printed. Now maybe another guy came, hey, I don't want ID, I want to provide as a string argument. Now what you can do, let me make it as another object. Here I want to pass only the department. I can say IT department, just I written. Now this time this is a string argument. Then what you can do, you need to create a string constructor here. How you can make it? Public department. Here you can take as a string department name. If you create these many constructors, you need to place the all constructors here, and we can call, if you provide, if you observe here, this is called constructor overloading. If you see everywhere, the constructor name is the same, department, but the parameters are different. Here another question will come to the picture, can we overload the constructors? Yes, as of now whatever we done, this is called overloading of constructor. So this is the difference between default constructor and as well as parameterized constructor. Okay, hope you enjoyed the session. If you have any questions, please leave your comments, guys. Don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you, guys.